What is up, guys? Welcome back to the shop for another adventure. So this truck right here may look a little familiar to you guys out there that watch my channel. A few videos past, I actually posted about this truck and how the rear tail lamps on here, the LED tail lamps and the bliss module back here, actually got water into them, corroded, shorted, or grounded to the MSCAN network that is required for all these different modules on the vehicle to talk to each other. And because it was shorted back here, it took out all the other modules on the vehicle. The whole network was down. Went ahead, changed them out to new ones, new harness, everything was back up and running. Everything's gravy, right? Well, guess what? The truck's back for more problems. So the customer, I guess, watched the video on it, and he understood how it affected the MSCAN network and everything. And he knows there's a lot of medium priority modules on that network. And he noticed that the massaging seats on the driver's side here and the lumbar no longer work. So no lumbar support on there and no massage function. And he noticed that it's also part of the MSCAN network. So he's like, maybe it's part of that and you missed it or whatever. Can you check it out? I said, sure, I'll check it out. I doubt that's it. Every other module came back online once we fixed the other stuff back there, but I'll check it out. So in the end, I figured out that it was nothing to do with the modules being shorted out on the MSCAN network. It was simply a wiring fault. So the dealer guys probably already know about this. It looks like it's a common fault area back there. So I want to go walk through real quick what I did to quickly diagnose this and isolate it and see why the lumbar and multi-contour seats were not working on here. Now, I'm going to be honest. I know about massaging seats. My 21 Platinum had it in it, and I never had to work on them. This is my first one, but it's very, very simple. So basically how it works is there's air bladders all over the seat, okay? You can kind of see them in here. Let's see if I can show you. You can see them right there. They're kind of translucent. There's these air bladders in there, and there's an air pump right here. You see it right here, one single line coming out, and that goes to this seat contour module, which, you know, obviously controls the direction that air goes out or vents to all these different bladders. See it? And that's how they get it to go, you know, expand and contract for the lumbar function and on and off for the massage function. It's a pretty simple system, nice and quiet. So the seat back here actually unrolls and unzips on here. You kind of get up and out of the way, and you can get in here, and we can look at it together and diagnose it. So I already have it diagnosed, but I want to show you how I did it. So I know this is probably going to be a pretty common thing. I want to help you guys out with your vehicles out there. So you can see it only made another 2,000 miles, and they started having issues with the seat, and he figured it must be something to do with the tail lamps. We fixed it before. So the first thing I did was pull on-demand codes. So that module back there is actually called the Seat Contour Module G. Passenger side's H, then there's an E, and there's all kinds of them. So the driver's side is G, as you see there. And we keep getting two codes over and over again. So basically the back bladder, the air bladder, has an electro-pneumatic failure. It's either electrical or pneumatic air, right? Same thing for the cushion. So it's very simple at this point. Went ahead, the buttons are right here. It'll pop up on the screen here. Let me zoom you in so you can kind of go through and you can see them. See, I'm adjusting the contour. Let me go to the top bladder on there. This is all for lumbar on here. Okay. Well, you got to keep pressing these, and then it will try to pump it up. You can see it's trying to pump it up now. It's commanding the pump on. Pressures are not increasing, and then it just kind of gave up through a fault code. So in order to check that pump and why it's not working, I had to keep pressing the buttons on there for lumbar, right? And my son goes, why don't you just press the massage function, guy? Because massage constantly is going, right? It's constantly going the whole time. Just it's constantly, massaging the seats, right? Sure enough, pump is on continuously. Great. Now it's time to come back here. So we'll come back here and we'll talk about it a little bit and take a look. So like I said, the module is obviously powering up. It's obviously responding. It's turning the pump on. It's commanding it on. It's responding to the seat switches over there because they're wired directly into it. And then it's multiplexed out through a network to the APIM so we can talk to it over there and display it. So we know all that stuff's working. Right now, it should be on. It's massage function. The scan tool's telling me it is commanding it on. I'm hearing no pump. I mean, I should be able to hear it with the cover off here. I'd be able to put my finger on it. Nothing. So what I did, obviously, is I followed the pigtail down. There's a pigtail. It goes down into here. You see it right here? Let me get some light over here. There we go. Let me get you focused. There we go. So here's a little pigtail, okay, that comes off, goes in this harness, goes around to the actual module, right? And that just clips in the seat right there and a little track right there. And has a connector, and that connector goes over directly to this pump, right? So I was able to disconnect that and pull it out, and I tested the ohms of that pump, 3.9 ohms. Seems like it's fine to me. I gave it power directly, works just fine. I tested power coming out of here, and when I was testing and moving all the stuff around, it was just fine. I was getting power there to a test light anyways. I was able to power a test light. So I'm like, that thing's testing out fine. It's getting power. Is the pump really bad? I mean, it's a brush motor, sure. It's possible. So I started messing around a little bit more, moving it around. I wanted to move the harnesses around and all this other stuff. And I'm trying to get it to go on and off, on and off. And I come over to the main connector. There's only one connector that goes into the module here, okay? Bring it a little closer there. Try to stabilize you. So I'm moving it around. And let's see if I can get it to do it. I'm moving, squeezing. And I'm moving it around. Whoa. Whoa. What's going on? I'm moving it. And it would go on and off like that. Let's see if I can do it again. Whoa. And because it's doing it intermittently like that, when I was in here at my hand, I'm moving this out of the way, and I'm trying to get in here to this and pushing on it, I was actually pushing on this harness right here. So let's bring you in nice and close over here, and we'll let you see exactly what the fault is. So I said, okay, let's take a look at the harness, maybe the pins on here, they're very small pins, pin fitment issue, sure, happens a lot when you have smaller pins. Let me look at it. So I'm pulling stuff out of the way, and I'm looking, I'm moving it around. I'm getting it to do it, right? Right, getting it to do it. And I realized this wire right here, which is the power wire, is broken on there. It's a clean break. It's not corrosion related, nothing like that. And I started looking and I said, okay, this module is strapped to the back on here. So as it's going in and out and inflating and massaging and rolling and all this other stuff, guess what? This module is going along for the ride. Woo, 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 right? Look at the harness. Number one, it's very short. Okay? See how short it is? So it barely makes it over to there. And then the harness is rigid. It's pretty darn rigid, right? Going in. And the module is going along for the ride. See, like this. as you inflate and deflate or massage. So it's just taking a piece of copper and wiggling it back and forth over and over again. And what's going to happen? It's going to break. Makes no sense. So as far as I can see with the manuals and everything else, 15 through 20 are set up this same exact way. I know 15 through 18 for sure. Whereas 21 and newer F-150s, it's a little bit different. It's over here, and the harness kind of clips up and over and goes into the bottom, and it's retained, and they all go for the ride. This one, the harness is part of the seat back frame and not part of this over here. So it sits there and works on it the whole time. You're using that function, and eventually it's going to break like that. Nice clean break. So they figured it out in 21 and fixed it, obviously. But the rest of you are going to have this problem eventually, I'm sure. So what I'm going to do with this one is, of course, there's a new harness for it. I'll link to it down below. It's like 20 bucks. Very cheap. Luckily for that, right? And I'm going to use some convolute and some tape. And of course, I'm going to make it longer. It's very obvious. Look how tight that is. I mean, it's very short. I'll make it a little bit longer so I can tuck a little bit in here and give it some room to move. But I'm also going to use the convolute and the tape to support it all the way up to here so it's more rigid. So we're not just yanking out one wire. We're using all the wires together as a support structure on there, basically. Here's a good example how it just keeps moving. Watch, you'll see it. And also, every time you get in the vehicle and you're pushing back on it, it's moving, and your harness is too short. You see how far out it is now? See it? It really pulls on it each time. And it just does this over and over again as massages you going down the road. That's why I gave it a bit of extra length, convolute, support, all that stuff. Much better. So that's what I found. And the module worked perfect. And when I held it on there, everything pumps up and everything works just great. Responds, all that good stuff. But it's just a simple broken power wire that comes out of here and feeds power to that motor. That was it. So it was a cheap fix this time for this customer, but man, oh man, you know, the little problems you find with engineering as time goes on and it gets used in the real world. That's very obvious. Gonna yank and pull on those wires over and over again, and it's going to pop on there. Most of the wiring problems on these vehicles, any of these vehicles, are either because they didn't route them correctly and they're chafing issues, or the harnesses are too short. They're trying to save in the copper, the weight, the cost, all that stuff. So they're making these harnesses shorter and shorter, and they're having these kinds of problems. They had a lot of problems with the escapes, maybe fusions too, 13 and newer, with the engine harnesses, because they were too short. And they're popping off grounds in there and stuff like that, that were spliced out in there. So it's pretty common. So it's just something to watch out for. Don't just jump to a module or a pump or whatever else. Do a little diagnosis and figure it out. That's all for now. I'll see you guys next time.